So just like we just did our top 10 scenarios of all time, with the good comes the bad. And that is a subjective kind of subject, I guess, as to what are the top 10 scenarios, worst scenarios that we experienced so far
And I'd
in
like-
our campaign.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to, like, for me anyway, these aren't bad scenarios, even though at the top of my list I have written bad, right? These are just the ones that I enjoyed the least.
Yeah,
And there's
okay.
a variety of reasons around why that is. Some
That's
of
fair.
them pure enjoyment, some of them design, some of them objectives, or whatever different reasons are.
Yeah.
But I don't like saying good and bad because that's subjective. And I don't think that, I mean, the amount of work that goes into making these
Yes.
is really high, and to say someone did a bad job with it, I don't think is correct at all.
My instructions to you when we were setting this up was you're basically ranking them from 1 to 38, and we're just grabbing the bottom 10. That's ultimately
Correct, yeah.
how we're looking at it.
Yep,
Is
yep.
that we just, we have a list of the ones that we liked, the ones we like the least, and something has to feature somewhere.
Yep.
Right? So even if it's on this list, it may not necessarily be bad.
Yeah, and that's it. There's a couple of on here. Like when I was doing my list, I did a pass through, and I only got about 6 that jumped out at me from all the ones that we're doing. That I'm like, yeah, that's definitely one of the ones I enjoyed like the least out of what we did. So I had to dig through, and there's a couple on here that are probably a little bit harsh.
Yeah.
But again, like I think we'll go through the reasons when I do it. But that's I think a key thing because I find a lot of people in the community jump on. This is bad, this is too hard, this is broken, this is designed badly. And it's like, I think all of those things are too like extreme, the definitive around that, when it's like there's so many variables that go into this. And we've found that where some scenarios we've been like, oh, that was easy and trivialized through a couple of our classes. And other people were like, this is the worst scenario I've ever done. How could you possibly ever complete it?
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, you could say that's bad design, but I think that's just part of the game.
Yeah.
Like, because there's so many combinations.
And that's why I said, like, sometimes it comes down to timing.
Yeah.
Like, it really could be a timing thing for which classes you have, how many players you had, and
Yeah. I mean, if you play through on 2 players, from what I can hear, you're going to have a bad time with a lot of these scenarios.
a lot of them. My number one, a lot of people hate, have 2 people. So, I'll begin with a quick honorable mention. I have chosen also scenario 7, which didn't make the cut, so therefore it must be somewhat okay. Edge of the World. So this was our first experience into Crabland and what we dubbed the initial palette cleanser. After we had gone through some Algox quest chains, and before we went to the Frozen Crypt, we went to this place, and it was like, let's go kill some crabs, and it was just easy. Like we just.
Oh, did you put that on your bad list?
It's an honorable mention. It's not on my bad list. I'm just saying it was very meh.
Honorable
It
mention
was
on your bad
mega
list.
meh.
Yeah.
It was just. It was nice to actually experience that, but I did not at any stage go, "Oh, okay, we need to be careful here," or anything like that. Right?
Like we were going into that last room expecting there to be stuff, and there wasn't. It was just one Yeti dude.
Yes.
What that just made me think of is we need to do a top 10 meh list. Like, because I looked at that and went like, oh, I can't put that on my bad list. Like, that's so unmemorable.
I did it.
No, I know, but it is. This is the bad list.
Nah, it's honorable. It almost made it.
Yeah.
All right, it was hard. All right. You want to go first?
Sure. Yeah. All right, cool. Number 55, Change of Heart.
So 55 Change of Heart, which
Is the final boss in the Algox questline.
we're releasing the podcast this week for that one. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Go for it.
It was underwhelming for what was a build-up for since the start. The very first scenario we did was leading to this, and the boss, the whole thing was kill this inanimate object. Like, while there's this dude running around that's basically going to make you discard a card every turn.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's it. And the first room, I mean, this doesn't go into, which we'll talk about more on the podcast about different things. It wasn't a bad scenario necessarily, but I felt like it missed compared to Prince of Frost. We've got My Private Empire, which was a cool one, the tree one. I mean, we've done other ones that kind of have led to that kind of end boss pinnacle type thing. And this one just seemed to fizz. And I don't think it's how we did it. And again, we'll talk more, we talk more about on the podcast how we went through it all. But it's just a bunch of monsters in a room that don't die quickly, like that take less damage.
That's true.
And then a big thing you have to hit heaps. Like, yeah.
No, I think that's fair enough. Yeah, no, I agree. Like sometimes, look, it's hard because sometimes when you're watching a TV show or whatever, when you get to that last episode, you're really pumped for it, right? This is the finale for the Argos quest line, and expectations are high.
Yeah.
And I think, at the end of the day, like you say, it's not overly bad. It was just kind of like maybe our expectations were a bit higher, considering some of the other scenarios we've had.
100%. Expectations went to that I'm like, I'm being ready to be blown away, and and it just wasn't. Yeah. Cool.
My 10th worst scenario that we've done so far was scenario 35, the scrap pit. And this was a stretch because it's harder to come up with these, but it would be sitting 10th from the bottom. And it was just more because, I don't know, I don't really care for Crane. And escorting him
10th
around
worst
while he was...
NPC.
Yeah,
Crane.
yeah. Well, he's tinkering around, and yet, defending him. The scenario was fine. It was actually fine. It was like dealing with the mobs. There was enough mob variety. Gaz kind of made it also shit because he went in there and just destroyed everything in that second room, and I was like, oh, okay. Like, it just, you ruined it in a way.
I'm sorry.
Between you
That's
and Crane.
a top 10 list of scenarios Gaz has ruined.
Yeah, that's number one.
Yeah, look, I almost had that. That's the one I had on my top 10 list that got bumped off.
Yeah.
Because it was like, it's interesting enough, but also I fulfill reasons. Like, I went big.
Yes.
Right? Like, that was when I jumped in, retaliated, shield up, nothing hit me, and I just killed everything.
Yeah.
Right? And I was just like, oh, I can do that?
And looted a lot.
Yeah, and that was even before I got my card, which is attack all adjacent enemies.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, there's two of those that I could have had to even, but yeah, that was on there, and that's why I dropped off for the other one, which was mechanically probably more interesting, because I was just like, oh, okay, yeah, I probably shouldn't just put it in there just because I had a big turn.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Phil's 10th worst one was scenario 22, Ice Flows.
Oh, okay, yes, definitely on my list.
So it's an okay mission, but really bad RNG left bad memories.
Yep, definitely.
What's number 9?
Number 9, Living Glacier. The ice heist that took us 3 goes.
Yeah, interesting.
Again, I was on the fence on this one.
I didn't have this.
Yeah. So, it's not a bad scenario, and maybe it was just our experience with it and our
3 experiences.
3 experiences with it, yeah, that's right. Yeah, we got to experience it lots. Maybe that's what happens with, maybe the playtesters hate all of them because they have to play them so many times. Who knows?
That's a good point.
But yeah, it just, again, not a bad scenario. We just had a bad time with it. I'm not sure if it's the class makeup we had, although I feel like having the trap in that one was really good because they just handled the boat. I don't know. It's weird because we thinking about the classes, we had really good ones for it. We had a trap to handle the boat. We had a snowflake to give us jump. We had a crab to get advantage in the water and do things in the water. Like,
we missed the burst on the final thing. I think that was it. It had 40 health, and you and Phil were chipping away at it, and we needed something to go. We needed a Deathwalker to go full ham into it, or a Blink Blade or something. And I think that's probably what held it off.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, just
everything else was fine.
Yeah, like I said, this is why it's not a bad scenario list. This is just ones that maybe having to do it 3 times it just soured the experience.
Especially when it's over many weeks.
I'd make an argument. Yes, correct. I'd make an argument that any of the ones we didn't have on our top 10 list, if we had to do 3 times, probably suddenly start getting pretty close to our top 10 worst list.
Yeah, good point.
What did you have?
So 9th worst was scenario 70. The True Oak. And now this was a timing one.
Okay.
Because we got this was an early PQ that Mark got that we didn't do until much later. And when we finally got there, it was kind of like we're going to retire the Bone Shaper, and that's really exciting. And then we went through the scenario, and actually it was actually coming together quite nicely until we got to the last bit, and we saw this guy, and he was all like, I'm the True Oak, blah, blah, blah. And it was like, oh, we got a boss dude coming over. And then it was like, okay, let's sit. Oh, he's dead.
Is this my fault again? I
think so.
Okay.
It was like he just fell over like that. It was like, I'm the best in the world. I'm fully buffed up. I have all these buffs, additional damage. Oh, I'm dead. And it was kind of like, oh, okay. It just felt, I think if we had it at the very beginning with our original lineup and we started working on those PQs back then, it would have a different feel to it. It just felt so filler. That's all. It was just, it had the makings of it, the Fortilla voices, the writing, everything had the makings of sounding like it was going to be, a nice little mini conclusion to a PQ, and it just fell flat.
See, I love the fact that the boss was just a normal dude from a flavor perspective of like, I'm in charge, and then he just dies. But you're right. I remember feeling really lackluster.
Yeah.
And again, partially that was the second one I think in a row that I was like, oh, I can jump in and do heaps of damage really quickly
Yeah.
and make everything die. And so again, I feel like it was another one I ruined.
It was probably around the similar time to the crane one as well, right? It was probably around that time where I was starting to question on our pod, do we increase the difficulty? Because
And then I think we did the heist, right?
yeah,
We were like,
we didn't increase it, but we did the heist.
we did the heist. Yeah, exactly. So it was, all right, what was Phil?
Phil's 9th worst was number 8, Crystal Trench.
Which one's that?
Crystal Trench was...
Is it the wolf chasing one?
Yes.
Okay.
I think it was. It was the start to the Unfettered line, I believe. And he wrote Snow Imps.
Okay. Don't know.
There's the one with the polar bear at the end, but yeah.
Well, that's the wolf one. The escape one was the wolf one, but the polar bear at the end.
Yeah,
But
I think it was 8.
Unless Crystal Trench is the one that was split into 2. Remember with the drifter, you know how the wind demons zoomed past?
No, that wasn't it. That was
not it?
Frozen Fjord.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I don't know. Sure.
Yeah.
Frost imps, yeah, they suck.
Yeah, they suck. They do.
Oh, look, that could have been a timing thing because we got to a point where like, oh, frost imps are cool. Oh, frost imps aren't that cool. Oh, frost imps are annoying. Oh, fuck frost imps. Like, so maybe that was that point where we got to where we're like, we're done with frost imps. Please no more.
Yeah, I think I wrote it in one of the titles of one of the pod episodes. Was like simply impossible kind of thing. It was like we were going on and on about frost imps because we just happened to line up all our scenarios in them coincidentally.
Okay, so my 8th, a strong foundation.
A strong foundation. What number is that?
65.
Oh, the start of my PQ. Oh.
So you had this on your good list, didn't you?
I did.
So I think
my 8th.
Yeah, so I think where this one was, because I actually agreed with all the things you said. I think the mechanics were cool. It was the first time we saw slip and slide. I'd forgotten about the protect the orb thing at the end, so I remember it was a bit hazy there. I just felt like the whole thing was more annoying than it was difficult. Like it's kind of cool going like, oh, they're all going to push you and they're going to push you back out. And there was like this ha 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 moments of like, oh, I just made my way in. It's like, oh, there you go, back out.
Yeah, okay.
But I think in the end, like it just became more annoying to try to work out how to be there to have your turn. Like I remember we got to the end where it was like one dude left and we're like, we're not going to lose this. It's going to take us 5 turns to position ourselves so we can hit him.
Didn't he go invisible?
Yeah, at one stage.
It was the ice wraith.
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
So it was just this like I thought the first room was fun and it was all slip and slidey and you know bone shaper pinball. But then the second room was cool, but it just felt annoying. Yeah. Like by the end, I was just like, okay, like. Well, having to position myself so that when I get punted by them, I don't slip back out of the room, which is funny, and I know it's a puzzle, but it's just annoying. You know, it's kind of where the, you know, not hard, not over complex, but just annoying in some places. So
sometimes we're all wrong. So the 8th one. It's funny you should say that because that's your 8th worst. It was my 8th best. So
oh really?
Yeah,
okay.
Go figure.
Yeah.
My 8th worst scenario was actually scenario 42, Sunless Trench, and that is one that we also did very recently.
Yep.
That we haven't spoken to yet on the pod. The main reason was because of the sheer volume of what was there that I have a feeling we weren't meant to kill all of them. It was a looting one, and it was just mitigating around that. I just found that like, just looting.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. Not a fan of the overly looting ones, especially when they're obviously situated in very, very irritating and annoying places with very irritating and annoying mobs.
Yeah. I had that same one, not in the same spot. It's a couple of spots higher, but the same. Any scenario that you need to travel really far suddenly starts getting worse. And this is Gloomhaven was exactly the same. Movement is the least fun component of what you do on your cards, right? It doesn't mean if you've got really good movement. It's still, I moved, cool, end of my turn.
Yeah.
That's what this scenario was. And there's been a couple that have been like, we're going to make you go to complete opposite ends of the thing and do a thing. And that's just not fun. Also, any scenario that ends up with a objective of like, you can just skip everything in this scenario just to go pick up a thing or get to a place or stand in a position, again, starts to trivialize what's in it because it becomes I don't care what's on the map. as long as it doesn't kill me.
Yeah.
Like that last couple of rooms, and again, no spoilers, but like it got to a point where it's like, okay, cool. As long as the enemies don't draw these bad cards, we're fine.
It was tense in a not fun way.
Yeah, correct. It's like, yeah, exactly. It's a tense, I can't control this perspective.
Yeah.
So yeah, I 100% agree with you.
Yeah. That was 8. Phil's 8th was scenario 16, derelict elevator.
Oh, I hated that.
Yeah.
Okay, what was his reasons? Robots go boom?
His reasons were player admin mistakes.
Player admin and then full stop mistakes or player admin
Player
mistakes?
admin mistakes and or bad RNG. So that would have been from the room machines doing their explosion thing at the very start, and also when all three of you were on the elevator when it dropped.
Yep. So that's our fault. So the scenario should hate us. Yeah. All right. So next I had elemental cores.
Oh.
So this is interesting, right? Because I also had this on my honorable mention for best
That's why
ones.
I'm just like, wait a second.
So I had this on my honorable mention from a good list because I thought the mechanics were really cool. Because it was fun, like the idea of having the elemental cores one was the one with the demons. Yeah, you go and open the door, and then demons spawn. You got to get it and carry it back. It's a cool concept, right? But it was boring, right?
For you?
Well, yeah, for me.
Yeah,
So
okay.
again, this is why it's on my list.
Yeah,
but for anybody that, like, someone had to do that,
Correct,
right? I just
correct.
copped it. So you guys got to go fight heaps of cool shit, and I was the one that had to go ferry shit back and forwards. But that's what I mean. It's like
Honorable because you like the design of the thing, but then your experience of it was bad.
I think someone's experience in that is going to be bad.
Yeah.
Whoever has to go ferry the shit around is going to have a shit time, right? There's no way around it. The only way to stop that is that you ferry it quickly and skip the monsters, but then in case again, it's going back to the same problem as the Sunless Trench thing.
Or you choose 4 doors and 4 of you split up.
Yeah, totally, right? And then you just fight your individual room. But again, that's still... Yeah, that's what I mean. The idea of going, hey, you get to pick 4 of these 6 doors. There's going to be things in them. The elements being up all the time. Like, I'm talking more good about than bad about this one, right? But the thing, that's why it was on my honorable mentions, because I could see it being really cool. But the experience of playing it, basically for me especially, was like half of the scenario was me just moving.
Yeah.
Picking things up and moving.
Yeah, we saw that.
Like, it was boring.
Yeah,
right?
it looks boring.
And I could have easily said no. Right, I'm going to go fight things, but then we probably lose.
Yes.
So, like, what do you do, right? Like, then it's on my list because we had to play it twice.
Yeah.
So,
That's a good point. Where are we up to? 7? My 7th worst scenario was scenario 22. Ice flows.
oh, yeah. Wow, you guys, like, hated this less than me.
Oh, really? Oh shit! I thought it was not on your list.
No,
I
it is.
I really like the scenario from what it's trying to do. It's literally don't put 6 wave throwers on the starting tile and really far away because I think that was a mistake. I think maybe 3 with the possibility of adding another one later, or a mixture of different crabs, claw crushers, and all of that kind of stuff. Which there were claw crushers up there. 6 wave throwers really far away on a class that has innate immobilize, as well as spawning eels, I think on a reset card, just makes that so swingy. And I literally think everything else about that scenario, even trying to save underneath from overflowing and all that, is fine. The actual scenario is fine. It was the decision to put 6 wave throwers at the top.
Yep.
Just fucked.
100%. And I'll talk about this in a bit more detail later, but they could have achieved the same thing, but without having a monster in there that RNG makes it dumb.
Yeah.
Right? Because the idea and theme of the scenario, great. The way that it was made and the possibilities of the skew, right? Because of the particular monster you picked to go in there, okay, is what makes it no good. Yep.
And look, we talked about this on the pod. This may not be other people's experiences. This was 100% ours because this is what we saw.
Well,
but other people may not key that card that does the summoning eels and all of that kind of stuff, right?
So, I mean, I've got it higher, so I'll talk again, but I'll say this on that because it's relevant. Yeah. We got the extreme of that, right? So for those that haven't done it, they basically got the almost the odds of it never happening and drawing the same card like 8 turns in a row, right, to spawn things forever and make the game miserable. And then we lost, and then the next time we didn't draw it at all.
Yeah.
I think we drew it once right at the end.
Yeah.
So you've got these two, we had the extreme on both.
Yeah.
And both of the experiences weren't great.
Yeah,
Like
that's a good point.
Even when we did it, we were really worried it was going to happen, but it was almost trivial by the time we got through. It was like, oh, we killed everything. And it wasn't because we played more optimally. They just didn't draw the really shit card, right? So it was a weird, like, hey, so we got to see both extreme RNGs and they both weren't very good.
Yeah, it sounds like it's your number 2, basically.
Maybe.
From the sounds of it. So, we all know what your number 1 is. Number 7 on Phil was number 42, Sunless Trench.
Okay, cool. So we all had that around the same place. Yeah.
He said he just didn't have fun. And Monster AI admin.
Yep.
And completely fair.
Yep. So using that as a segue into my number 6.
Yep.
Sunless Trench.
Yeah, okay.
So exactly the same. It was, I think the types of mobs were there just to be really annoying.
Perfectly picked.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Although the night demons could have been anything else. I think it's just something that's dangerous. Like they didn't really contribute to the. It feels like they were there because it's the middle room and they give you something to fight. Because if you don't put them in there and you do another annoying room, the whole scenario is basically just jump around and dodge annoying shit, right?
I think that they were there from a thematic point of view because you were technically so far underwater that it was dark.
Oh yeah, that
was the most thing there. But yes, they were there as the big beefy, get in your face and do lots of damage. Everything else oozes and all that, provided they don't move, because we'll cover that in the pod. But provided they don't move and moving around, they're just essentially gooey turrets.
Yeah.
And then we had the eyeballs, which are also really long turrets. So really, they're the ones that are moving around, making your life difficult unless they've moved out of the way.
Yep. So.
No, okay.
That was my number
Sunless
6.
Trench was nice and universally hated, but roughly the same way.
Yeah.
Number 6, scenario 122. The Eternal Crave. Number 1, yes, I had a bad time with this. Number 2, we already discussed the whole puzzle situation with it. And yeah, it's got, it's kind of, yes, it peaked really nicely towards the end when you loot the thing and all the things spawn. It's kind of like, oh, it's go time kind of thing. But I don't know, it just had a clunkiness to it. There was something about it that just did not feel right. And I'm not 100% sure really what that was.
Yep.
I just didn't drive. Not a fan.
Is there a world in a sliding doors moment where we choose to go the other way and suddenly it's on our top 10 list for best scenario?
Possibly. Yeah. Quite possibly.
So it's really interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because we don't get booked with a stupid puzzle. We get to fight a boss and probably have a bunch of monsters, and it's probably not a get to the end and solve these icy puzzle
Yeah, it's
things.
kill a boss.
Kill a boss, right? Yeah.
Yeah. No, well, yeah. So
you have a better experience on your first scenario as your shackles.
Yeah.
And suddenly you're talking about how much you love the shackles.
How amazingly thematic it was. And all of that kind of stuff. Phil's number 6 was scenario 55, Change of Heart. His reasoning behind that was let down by the end of mission rewards.
Oh, I think you can get XP. Oh, I love it, Phil. It's so good. I was like, the whole thing, it's like watching a 7-season series and it coming in the finale being a letdown and not getting payoff. And then he's just like, we didn't get enough loot. That's it.
He didn't have enough XP to level up.
Yeah. Well, I would have
for a finale, it would make sense to pump a bit of that.
Come on, Dwarf, can you patch that, please?
Yeah, a bit of juicy XP. Although you were... Oh, yeah. Because that was the first one we did out of the 2. Yeah.
2 XP off leveling.
That's right. Top
cool.
5.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wait, do we... Oh, no. Okay. Work freeze.
Ooh.
So 114. So the first of... Is it Pinto? Is that his...
Yeah, Pinto, I think.
Pinto, yeah. So dude who wanted to carve a hole through the mountain, which is interesting because you had here the caravan one on your list as a good one. I had the pillars one for a similar reason. And I've got, this one. This was one of the ones that I think has been the kind of catalyst to talking about scenarios that just want you to do a thing rather than play your character. Because so many, like the bombs were so cool and so useless, right? It basically was you use them once and that's it. And then you just got to try to like wade your way through the monsters to go kill these pillars and then you're done. Like our last 5 or 6 turns of that were literally just like jump over the monsters, try not to die. To the point where I think my last 2 turns was stand next to all the Frosthaven so they didn't kill you.
Correct.
Because you could kill the pillars.
Yes.
That's not fun.
No.
There's just no fun in that, right? No. It's like, oh yeah, cool. Now maybe there's a way and characters have classes and combinations that make it fun. But endless spawns, I think, are a consistent thing with a scenario being
Negative
unfun.
experiences.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, I totally see that. Scenario, sorry, number 5. I picked scenario 69, Sacred Soil. This was the first one on Mark's PQ, so I already had the second part. His PQ was crap, just pointing it out there. So 69 was memorable because of the probably timing, the fairies. There were just crap loads of fairies in that, which definitely made that not fun for a snowflake. It was very, very cramped, which also made that not fun for a snowflake. You have Mark's Bonehoard, which was having fun. A lot of other people were having fun. I wasn't having too much fun. I think there was some interesting mechanics from the transferring from one platform to another. I like that. And Phil getting Perry Piper at the end was really interesting. But other than that, I really just did not enjoy that scenario at all. So, and then to throw it in there, the thing that Forrest seems so good at is cursing everyone, right? So when you got that happening as well, it just kind of was like, super meh.
Yeah.
Not a fan.
Yeah, I can see that.
Phil's top 5th worst was number 28, the summit meeting.
Oh, yeah.
He said, as Deathwalker, I don't know, that's the best bit. I blew up the altar. He wrote down Monster AI admin.
Yep. That's
So, which he didn't do. So I'm not sure.
Again. It's like, oh, it's so boring watching everyone else do the admin.
Maybe that's it.
Yeah, he's like,
The more work we have to do, the more
he gets
annoying
sad
it is.
because he has to watch us. It's like watching the ads, right? Yeah.
Ad break.
No, that makes sense. I had that not on either of my list for the same reasons. I thought it was a cool idea, but the admin let it down. And again, at the digital type, again, even though like I'm doing some of it and you're doing some of it, and we're all too much. Number 4, the Eternal Crave.
Yeah.
Why would you put a puzzle at the end of a scenario that's like that?
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah.
Literally it.
100% fair.
And again, in a world where we go the other way, maybe it's great.
Yeah.
So I'm
we'll
sorry, number 4. I mean, the Eternal Crave. I think that it was a cool lead in. I even liked the idea of going to fetch the bark. I didn't mind so much that we had to jump over all that crap, and it was messy, but I didn't mind that. Probably more from a character perspective than anything else. But yeah, why? Why? In what world was that a good idea? Like, surely you test that and someone says, that was really annoying. And they go, nah, you must be wrong. Like, you couldn't have found that annoying.
On this week's episode of the pod, I have discovered something about that. That's my rant that I'm going on.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Did we do something wrong?
No,
okay.
I will definitely cover that though then.
Okay.
It's probably the first thing I'm going to open up with.
Oh, okay. Looks spicy.
Yeah, so that was 4, yeah? Now this one's interesting because this one appeared on your top 10.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Scenario. Can you guess this one? What's one on your top 10 that I would probably have hated or disliked?
Invasion of the Dock.
No, that didn't appear on my list.
Okay.
One more guess.
The Mirror one?
No, that was on my short list for favorite.
Robot Avalanche?
No, you stop guessing.
How awesome about you say guess?
My number 4th worst one was Scenario 33, Thawed Wood. So
Oh, okay. Why'd you hate that?
I just didn't like it. It's
really
a puzzle. Oh, it did well, etc. I didn't have fun with it. Trying to work out the triangulation of where the things are is not my jam. So I felt like it's
That's fine.
It's almost like doing a top 10 puzzles in the game. I would not have them. I have one because I watch you guys do them. That's the ad break, right? So when it's trying to work out the triangulation, I did have a fun time punting things around, etc. But I don't like that scenario. I just don't like the goal of what we had to do there. The first room was really, really cool. I really liked that. When you open a room and you get that giant purple box and you're seeing everything that's involved in it, it is an exciting moment. You're like, oh shit, how are we going to navigate this? What's this going to be all about? And then once I worked it all out and we were doing it, I was just like, not really my jam.
Yep.
And for that reason, look, it's kind of like when you say Eternal Crave. Why would you put a puzzle in a scenario? This scenario is a puzzle.
Yeah, it is and it isn't, right? Like, it was more stand on the things and the game will tell you where you need to go.
I know. What I did like, actually, the only thing I did like about that was the randomness. It was one of the few ones where there are tiles, they're all face down.
Yeah.
And I don't think they use that enough in some of the scenarios in interesting ways, where you go, you need to find 5 of this, or you need to, set off bombs or whatever. Go over, spend a thing to loot it and flip over it and see what it does. that was the only instance where they used that.
I think in the conversation about having puzzles like that in a scenario, I think the thing that scenario did well with it though, and how you probably do is you make it so that everyone's not stopped to solve the puzzle, because in that people can be looking and doing things, whereas if you go, I don't care, I'm just going to fight the monsters, you can.
Yeah.
Right? Like it wasn't a you need to individually solve your own puzzle in order to play. And I think, I mean, you probably did mostly ignore it. You did a great job punting around the fire demons and keeping them out of the way. So like you were able to focus on what you wanted to do.
There was something for me.
Yeah, correct. Which I think is really important. Okay, again, it's like if you put these things that stop you from moving forward before you do X to achieve Y, and people get stuck, that's when it becomes boring.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yeah, still terrible. Oh shit. So Phil's fourth worst was number 45, Living Glacier. Monster AI admin again. Slows the game down.
Yep.
Okay.
That's fair.
Very fair. All right, top 3.
All right, number 3. Again, I don't think we've... Oh, yeah, no, we have. All right, so number 3 was number 52, Fleeting Permanence.
Oh, yes.
Again, might be just because I got stuck holding the bag and had to do the objective, but carrying bodies around and looting them around, again, thematically and in a conceptual way, yes, I'm sure it sounds fun, but actually having to do it, like... And the argument of like just bring more loot cards is like, no, I shouldn't have to bring like less fun cards to make me do the less fun objective quicker. Like the only reason that there was any enjoyment at all in that scenario was because that's when Phil was going to retire and we got to play retire lottery, right? Every time that he looted was whether he was going to get his retirement goal. So yeah, that one sucked.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely agree. So
Number
3 was actually 114 Work Freeze. Yeah, I hated this. So yeah, you're right. Pylon problems and Caravan was great, but the first one, man, that first one was bad. It was just horrendous. You've covered it perfectly and encapsulated how we all felt as a group doing it. So. Yeah, it was not a memorable experience. And I think that was also probably at the start, because we did that one relatively early based on where it appeared. That was the start of where things were like, we were on a high of all these scenarios are so much fun and they're great and what will happen next. And this is the first kind of speed hump we hit early on, where it was kind of like, oh, the mechanics were really cool. We started off with those special rules, and there's the bombs and all that, and maybe, they're not 100% needed, and also it's really awkward to get them over there. And yeah, a bit too maybe over-designed or not designed enough. It was just in a weird limbo spot. And yeah, we talked about that on that particular episode.
I think timing of it, you're right. I think we did it around the time we did 14 as well. So we kind of were in a bit of a like, yeah, this is great. And then we hit a bit of a patch. We were like, oh, maybe not so great. And we kind of were going through going like, because
we were praising, in earlier episodes, we were praising the scenario design for a lot of them and how much we were enjoying it. And I was looking online and people are like, oh, it's so over, blah, 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 wait till you get later, etc.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, no, I think you guys are just QQing about something.
Yeah.
And then it was kind of like, oh, I see now.
Yep.
Phil's third worst, which I am really pissed off with, is 116 Caravan Guards.
Oh, okay.
Incorrect, Phil. Incorrect.
Is this because I didn't get to do big damage? Like the opposite of all the reasons he likes the good ones?
Look, I'll let you... He's got like 4 criteria.
Oh, wow.
That he normally has to choose from. Which one do you think this one might be?
He didn't do lots of damage.
No, Monster AI.
Oh, okay.
And would have been really shit if Birds wasn't in play.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
But
Number 2?
Number 2.
So you guys have already got this, Ice Flows.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I had it higher because the first experience we had
You were passionate about this.
Oh, well, the first experience we had with it was gross. Like, it was 100% gross, and it was again, the second worst experience that I've had in any of the scenarios across Frosthaven.
Yeah.
So, therefore, it had to be the second worst.
Yeah.
And it didn't need to be. It's a shame because in a world, like, again, talking about this, you could make that, the theme was good. I love the going back down to deck. Having a timer isn't a bad thing, but it's having a timer via monster AI draw, or that I feel like that's the problem, right? Like anytime that you're relying on that to even out means that either skew is bad, right?
Yeah.
Either experience becomes either trivial or becomes not impossible. I wouldn't say impossible, but really gross.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
That's
a shame.
such a good way of thinking about it. It's a timer in a way. It's almost like you've got a set amount of stamina here. That's increasing and decreasing your stamina because you have to commit more cards. You're dealing with more crap, right? Or less cards because they're not spawning the thing, and it's quite swingy in that way.
Yep.
Everyone all of a sudden has more work to do.
And that's the thing. If you put the boat being beat up and breaking on a timer mechanic, right, of however you do it, I'm not going to redesign it now, rather than the wave throwers, then you replace a couple of the wave throwers with other monsters, put a couple in there just because, it becomes a very different scenario. You go, there's a real problem here we have to solve. We've got to do it quickly, but we're not now watching the monster deck pop up and go, again, okay, cool. So that's really it.
Yeah, no, universally hated. Number 2. Ooh, I didn't notice this. Phil's second worst one is scenario 33, Thawed Wood.
Which one's that?
Yeah, well, the one we were just talking about, my number 4. So the puzzle.
Oh, the Radiant Stones. Oh, okay, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm the outlier here who liked it.
Yeah, he said yuck mission design. Yuck mission design with the special rules.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fair. Like
Now, I don't know if you remember, but he was getting harassed by the fire spirit that I kept punting, and then after a while he just sort of he got balked in that one really early. He went into the room, his Deathwalker. He went in early to the room and got wrecked and immobilized on the spot.
Yeah,
and then later on he just kind of just played, I'm gonna stand here and taunt the flame things that had something to hit and do nothing else while everyone's sorting out things out.
Yeah,
he had the worst experience in that.
He didn't have a good time. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Yep.
And
And I think we've all got ones in there that we didn't have a good time of, and it's tainted us that way, or the other way, or the good one. So at least he's been consistent. He's put ones in his good list of I owned it and I had a great time, and I got owned and had a shit time. So that's fair.
I accidentally skipped me. So my number 2, which will lead into your number 1, was scenario 14.
Oh, what have you got at number 1?
Scenario 14, Jagged Shoals. So
we may as well talk about this because I'm
correct.
from you going to lead straight into it. Yeah.
So this is obviously your number 1.
Yeah.
This is probably everyone's number 1, and it should technically be my number 1. I'm wondering how much of it's based on reputation, right? And how much of it is...
I hated it before I knew everyone else hated it.
So this is clearly one of the most universally hated scenarios and one of the most controversial ones.
Hated it is, but I like to put a caveat to say I don't hate this scenario, again, because that's really, really strong. It has all of the reasons that make a scenario not fun to play are in this one. Like almost all of them. And that's the thing. It's almost like a filling your bucket, right? Like if you had to fill up a bucket and how full it gets, it means how much you dislike it. You're pouring from every single cup. Like it's just.
So here's why it's not number 1, right? It introduced us to new mobs, which I was happy and surprised to deal with, right? We got to see the herders for the first time, the piranha pigs, and the lightning eels. That was already fairly cool. Let down by the ultimate goal of getting over there and dealing with everything that was happening. I think universally we all understand it was basically the monster admin. The AI was literally probably the worst part of that scenario. Yeah. It was just tedious and really hard to get through. From a design point of view, though, I don't think the scenarios... the admin part trumps what I'm about to say, but I don't think it's designed too badly, right? I think it's okay. I think the spawns are a little rough, but the concept of getting from A to all the way over there to pull this thing out over a series of 7 rounds while surviving is pretty cool. It's just needed definitely some tweaks, and I think Dwarf has tweaked it. I haven't looked at it because it's probably bad, but...
Well, we want to go back. But yeah, I agree in a sense. Because that's the one that's all underwater, right?
Oh yeah, I think.
Is it all underwater and then? Oh no,
it's boated out there, right? It has to be land.
But maybe the whole thing isn't underwater. I know there's one that was all underwater, but anyway.
Your solo scenario.
Yeah, that's true. The eels having you're right. There was cool things in that. The eels only being able to move along those certain places. The herders are a cool kind of monster, especially in combination with the piranhas. I almost just like again, I just feel like the unlimited spawns just made it gross. Like it made the admin worse. It made it harder, like harder to the point where it didn't matter about killing anything. It's like,
No.
well, why would we kill anything when they're just gonna spawn forever?
Yeah.
So again, it was like the pillars one.
Yeah.
It was you just need to designate one person to go win and the other 2 to 3 people, depending on how many people you're playing with, to make that person not lose.
Yeah.
And that's it.
It's weird.
Like,
It's essentially saying all your attack cards, don't worry about it. Play all of your survive as long as you can cards.
yeah.
People won't find that fun.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's it, because like movement, not taking damage while fun isn't necessarily a fun aspect of it, because it's, unless you have a really cool way of tanking heaps, you're not really doing anything other than just not dying for a turn.
No.
So
It's like you hit that for 4, cool. Now, number one hits Gaz for 3. Do you have a shield up? Do you have this up? Okay, cool. Number 4 hits Gaz for this.
Yeah.
And it's just rinse and repeat for every mob on the board.
yeah. So,
Painful.
yep.
So my number 1 actually was scenario 52, Fleeting Permanence. And
Oh, yeah.
I think that the main selling... I really didn't like the scenario, right? It was boring, you're right. It was just moving bodies. I can't stress how, Phil made that better. But as a scenario, they made the experience better, but as a scenario design, I just didn't like the looting. Like you say, bring loot cards and move bodies around. Especially when at the power level we were at, we were actually killing things quite easily. It was just became a puzzle of moving things around, right?
Yep.
The bodies around. What really made this number 1 was the fact that it was the penultimate, the one right before the finale in one of the main quest lines.
Oh,
It
yeah,
felt
true, isn't it?
super let down.
Yeah,
And it was
yeah.
it kind of like we're going into this, we had a summit meeting, we had the way forward, we had all these ones with the emissaries and the glaciers and getting the ice and all of these crazy up and downs and everywhere, only to just go right towards the end to then hope that the last one was going to be a high, which probably added further kind of downward for scenario 55, which was the finale of it.
You think that would make the finale even better?
You would
considering
think.
How we were oh.
It probably put way more pressure on it because that second last episode.
We did have a
of
couple
that
of week
line.
break, but though we had, because we did that one with Mark, and then we had a few weeks break. So maybe I forgot how shit that was.
It
Because
was
I
so
forgot that
boring.
was the one beforehand.
Yeah.
So
it
yeah.
was so boring.
Yeah.
And literally I named the episode with Zeds in it or something like that. I can't even remember. It was just so unbelievably boring. And even look, this is unfortunately for people like Iron and Wine who follow us quite heavily, and we talk a fair bit. He was just like, oh, my group's doing 52 this weekend. I'm not looking forward to it.
Yeah,
And he's listened to
he's
us
listened to
already
us,
talk
yeah.
about it.
Yeah, look, it is a shame. And I think that's one of those ones that, again, I suppose you have to have those ones in there so that the other ones seem better. I think maybe they need to be lifted up a little bit. Well, it's like a scale, right? Like, if everything just sits at a 5 all the time, then that just gets boring. You almost need to have ones that aren't as good so that there's others that are better. But I think there are ways that you could probably add a little bit to make that one a bit more interesting.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Phil's number 1 was number 14, Jagged Shoals.
Good man.
Boring ammo with monster AI. I think he's copy and pasted that a fair bit. But at the end of the day, these are our experiences.
Yeah.
Every group is going to have a different experience with a different makeup and a different timing. And that's going to impact whether or not you enjoy a scenario or not, regardless of the rules, because classes can break things and classes can move around things. So it'd be interesting to hear, let us know in comments and in our Discord what you thought of our list, whether or not there were some big misses here or some,
Yeah, it's the only thing. I mean, we've only done a third of the scenario. So
That's true.
hopefully, if other people who have finished it, they don't have 10 most hated ones that aren't on our list that we haven't done yet, because that means they're to come.
What we want is for this list to not change.
Correct. We don't want a new number 1. If there's a new number 1, we're in trouble because, from an experience perspective, a lot of those, especially the top 3, which I think we've got a pretty good, we're all pretty much on the same page.
Yeah.
I think the thing, because this could be a really negative episode, and it is probably going to, and people are probably going to have stopped watching by now, but great, got their top 10, they hated the game, right? I will say that making this list, there was less that jumped out at me on my did not like list than there was on my did like list.
Yeah.
I had to try harder to find 10.
Feels the same.
And that's good, because I know there was a point where, and it might have just been a sequence of events where I was like, wow, is this 50-50? Are some of these great, some of these terrible, and there's a couple that are just meh? But I think it's more that there's just a few that have jumped out that just weren't a great experience. And they're for very different reasons. yeah, there's actually been more that have been like, yeah, that was really cool, or that was really cool, and I see that we're trying to do. I just missed the mark based on either my play style or something that happened. So I think that's a really big positive, and it probably is a different spin that doesn't get looked at because I mean, it's way more interesting to talk how bad everything.
Oh, it's a shit on everything, right?
Yeah, like Chicken Little, Sky's Falling.
Yeah.
Like it's easy to do 150 scenarios and say they're all crap than it is to say that was great.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to get likes and stuff from telling people how good something is.
But you don't want to fence it all the time.
No, 100%. I'm not sitting on the fence. I'm saying
I
I'm saying that so far, I'd say that there's been more good ones than bad ones.
Yes.
By a margin as well.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right.
Cool. All right. Well, that's it.
That's that one done.
Well,
I don't know. We can do more top 10 stuff later, like
if
NPCs.
if you have other things you want us to do a top 10 list for, obviously stuff that we can do that we've unlocked or whatnot, let us know. But I think in the end, yeah, when it comes to making top 10 lists and doing an outro,
It's all on Gaz.
apparently.
Yeah.
All right.